The spoils were shared 1 week ago at Oran Park with Ade Koba and Adnan Grozdanic picking up the results needed to say they could stand at the top end of the championship. But when we've gone from sprint racing, we now head to the other side of the coin for today's racing championship, because we know that there are endurance rounds that have to be navigated. A pit stop required, a big challenge over 50 minutes, and a case of who can stand on top when they know that they have to keep putting lap on lap on lap on board. This is MX5 United, and no races today will be divided as we get ourselves set for racing action from the Dutch dunes of Circuit Park Zandvoort. My name's Jake Sperry. Craig King is alongside with me for today's action. Christian Deploy is in the director's chair using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. But to a Zandvoort circuit that has gone through many a change over the course of its long and storied career, but as a track, it is one that is the oval-esque circuit that is brought over to Europe. Let's take a look around this place with our GSRC track guide.
Welcome to Circuit Park Zandvoort. This legendary track directly to the west of Amsterdam and a stone's throw away from the shore of the North Sea has seen more than half a century of racing history. After a brief period of being closed, it was rebuilt in the 90s and then given a huge facelift in 2019 to see the return of Formula One. It retained its 4.25 kilometer length and 14 turns for the Grand Prix course, while the other 3 versions also stayed mostly unchanged. But the biggest adaptations were the additions of steep banking in Hugenholtz and Luijendijk. The unusual progressive banking in Hugenholtz in particular stands out as it brings the oval racing staple to the twisty side of motorsports and has produced action-packed results. Meanwhile, Luijendijk's new camber means that this corner is now easily flat out in pretty much every car and gives even better chances to try and overtake into the famous Tarzan. That said, passing is notoriously difficult at this highly technical track. And while it's much slower than its original guise, it still has some frighteningly fast corners, including Schieblach. If you're brave, the Hans Ernst chicane can sometimes offer chances to sneak by someone, but it can often become a clumsy wreck if you're not careful. The amounts of cash poured into the upgrades certainly produce more than just a fresh coat of paint. The spectacular racing put on by everything from open-wheelers to touring cars and sports cars is almost never dull. It's no wonder the Dutch fans come out in droves when the green flag waves here.
Zandvoort, a place where it is a little bit tougher than others to go out there and overtake, but in low-powered machinery, I think this offers more opportunities to attack than others here, Craig. Turn 1 at Tarzan is always a great place to battle, but Schieblach is a place you can pass. Turn 3 with the massive banking now at the Hugenholtz is there, and lest we forget the Hans Ernst chicane is a great place to get it done late.
Yeah, since the changes that have been done to this track, the drivers love these changes. And you talk about Tarzan, you talk about the Hans Ernst, but let's talk about Arie Luijendijk, because you get that run right out of turn 13. You get that banking on the oval-esque here. That cambering really helps the drivers here. They love this roller coaster feel to the track now. What I like is that run out of Hugenholtz at turn 3, because that's an uphill. Left and right, a little bit of an elevation change there at 4, 5, and 6. You can make moves into Schieblach, like you said, at 7, but side by side there is very dicey, and you've got to be side by side. You can't force it, and in this sort of race today, you don't want to be forcing anything.
No, this is going to be all about finding choice ways to make the moves here as we are right on the coast of the North Sea here in Zandvoort, and we are getting ourselves ready for qualifying action, which will be coming up in about 5.5 minutes time, where drivers will have 2 laps to put that all together. Let's talk though about the championship and how it stacks up in both pro and am categories after the first week. It is Adnan Grozdanic in control by 6 over Ade Koba, with Jaume Dalmases, despite the penalty, still picking up 3rd place after the opening day's worth of action. Giuseppe Milo will be in 4th position ahead of Matt Kendall, with Xavier Kane there in 6th place. Michael Chase will be 7th, 3 points clear of Lars Fischer, who had to do a lot of work to recover back. David Terron is in 9th, and Nuno Ferreira rounds out the top 10 in category. Unsurprisingly, is going to be a very close picture throughout this season here, Craig.
Yeah, and Valdemar Marcher already leading just on the basis that he got the pole position overall at the first start of the race. Jake Ratcliffe then will have to take P2. And Van der Murblucker will be in third, with Braden Hope in fourth. Adrian Luino did have to serve a penalty, will be fifth after the first race, and Elijah White will be sixth. Dennis Lynn, seventh. Lars Ulrich will be eighth, ahead of Bruno Lisoba, who also picked up a penalty. Henry Mantle rounds out the top 10. But as you said, this is a very close field because everything is done by positions gained at the start in the race. Well, it's not the position gained, the positions you finish. Everyone gets where I'm going.
Yep, and so with those positions that you finish, you got to play from the same hymn sheet, and because everyone is so close, it might have to rely down on clean points bonuses that may find themselves in play at the end of this season. So keep that in mind as the championship looks to stack itself out as they go. But we do need to talk about where we have been, what we're doing, and where we're going. So let's talk about some race details and get everybody in the mix for the first time. It is an endurance round today, which means they will have 50 minutes worth of racing action, and that racing action critically must include a pit stop. They have to take on a minimum requirement of 1 litre of fuel. Doesn't sound like much, but it depends on how they all stack up and how much they actually do need by the end of running. Now, they do have a spare car available, so if they do get themselves into an incident on lap 1, they do have a chance to fight back in a race as long as 50 minutes, but critically, they are running a fixed setup, so everybody is playing with the same tools available, Craig, which will mean that they'll be looking around and saying, well, do I have the ability to get the most out of the car compared to someone else?
Yeah, you don't want to be too much on the edge because in 50 minutes, that's also could put a lot of fatigue because not a lot of races in this car on the iRacing platform go 50 minutes. I think the longest is about a half an hour race. So this is something new for the drivers. And one good thing about this one spare car, you can serve your mandatory pit stop taking that fast repair right away, providing you do take the fuel. So some drivers may decide they want to get that fuel done early, get that stop done, even if it means that they have to take the damage. As long as they don't take a tow, they shouldn't be losing too much in the race.
No, it won't be too much to try and navigate through, but they will know that they have to set themselves up as we watch the last throws of practice then putting itself together. Just the 2 minutes remaining before we head ourselves over to qualifying on a day-to-day that, at least from looking at things at the moment, at nearing 11 o'clock in the morning here in Zandvoort, is a rather misty day out there at the moment. A 19-degree air temperature, a 19-degree track temperature. It does not get as Baltic as this very often.
No, and I thought for a moment we just had Grosdanek just lost in the fog there for a moment. No, there he is, and just going on. And of course, this is by the coast. So we also talk about that. We have to talk about the weather. And we do say how it's a 19 Celsius track temp today, 67 Fahrenheit for Americans, very high humidity because of where it is. The wind. Normally at Zandvoort, you get high winds. It's a southern wind today, only 14 kilometers an hour. Sounds a lot, Jake. That isn't a lot compared to what you usually get, but south also means you're practically looking at a tailwind going all the way up the start-finish line.
And that will certainly increase the speeds to try and get it done through the opening couple of corners. It will allow a crosswind over the top of the hill, so they are going to be working at Shivlak aggressively. As we can see the smile there of Adnan Grozdanic as he works himself around, and well, why wouldn't you have a big smile when you're almost 2.5 tenths clear in practice time on a 1:50.1? But as we know, people in practice, Craig, sometimes take practice with a pinch of salt. Don't show their true pace. It's what we call having a bag of sand in the car. The car's a bit heavier than it would be otherwise. It's what we call sandbagging.
Yeah, but at the same time, the qualifying laps will not be a true representation of pace either today. Some of these drivers will be looking at trying to do some fuel saving. So I reckon the race laps, yes, they are going to be slower than what they do in qualifying, but I reckon we're going to not even see the raw pace when that fuel drains out in the race, not just because of the worn tires, because the drivers will still be fuel saving. So we have to almost look at these like it is that F1 free practice and just see what tires they're on, Jake, and just see how their stints line up.
Well, it is a who's who at the top. Grozdanic fastest in practice ahead of Lars Fischer. Jaume Dalmases, a first start of the season for Nicholas Goebel. And then Ade Koba then makes your top 5 with Xavier Kane in position number 6. Now qualifying is available. They have 10 minutes of lap time to work with, and so they've got 2 laps to set. So they've only got the 10 minutes to put themselves on the highest level of pace. And we'll keep in mind as well your leading amateur or your AM category drivers out there, because they'll be looking to try and get a jump over each and every other driver that is out there and pushing. So when qualifying brings itself in a closed qualifying spec, this is going to be about finding the right time and the right ability to get the tyres into an operating window to work here today, as we focus going through the Hugenholt and up over through turn 4 and through towards Slopemaker here of turn number 5. A chance of getting the tyres up to temperature. Ollie Bailey, reigning champ, then working himself now through turn 6 and over to Shivlak.
Yeah, over here, now you start to go downhill for this winding turn 7, and then it just starts to flatten out. And here's one of the only parts of the track that's practically stayed the same since the upgrades here into turn 8 Masters and then turn 9, and you can almost throw it into 8 to set yourself up for 9. And you get to 9, look at the different lines you have to take before you come through here. And this is an interesting one at turn 10 as Ollie starts to just warm up his tires a little bit, because you can take this wide, and with these cars and the pace that these cars have and the lack of downforce, Jay, turn 10 could be taken many different ways today. The inside will be a late dive if someone wants to make an overtake there, but it's going to be tough. And this is a key point of the track today, not just because we watched Dennis Lin's. That Hans Ernst chicane, if you go off, a lot of gravel, and a lot of gravel is just going to stay there for the 50 minutes, Jake. It's going to be a danger zone after you get past the chicane.
Now, we don't expect tyre wear to be a massive factor in today's racing, and we don't expect anyone to go out there and change tyres, but it is worth noting that with the hefty degrees of banking around this circuit, the left-hand side tyres are going to take a pummeling out there as we focus with Ade Koba in the Simify esports machine, working into the opening corner of Tarzan. The man from the Gran Canarias out there is looking for as much as he can. His right foot will be planted to the floor, and he will say, well, if my shoes run out as I try and be aggressive through these corners, I've got a whole closet behind me that will help me work it through.
Yeah, and he's also just trying to make sure that he holds on. You can take it wide there by Hugenholt, but then you have to be careful not to go too wide on that exit curve to risk an off-track, and he hasn't done that at the moment. And look, it's almost blind. Where do you find the braking point for it? And again, I love how this is the driver using a Formula rim to use this car. I know some of them like to do, but look at the forces. Hits into the brakes, trying to keep the control into Masters, and now using all the curve. Remember, 4 tire rule here, so you can use all that curve and a little bit more. Gets a really nice run out of turn 9. And does he take it wide, or does he go to the inside? It's early turning for turn 10 to set himself up for the Hans Ernst chicane. Hopefully he doesn't go too wide there, just avoids it using the curve.
Well, I look at the way he's steering right now, and he initially steers, gets the oversteer through the car, and then just keeps the car steering wheel as straight and as pointed as possible. He's not overcorrecting, he's not oversteering through any of these corners, he's not having to fight too much with it on this opening lap. He'll have turn 13 out there on circuit here, this 90-degree right. You're looking to attack off the exit, the curb. Definitely don't want to grab any gravel here. And then through Arie Luyendyk here, the final corner out there, named so after the legendary IndyCar driver that won an Indy 500, believe it or not. Matt Kendall and Lars Fischer setting the pace, a 51 flat. The first effort, but Ade Koba can beat that, a 150.9, and that is good enough for the front for the moment, but we're expecting those times to start flying their way through. Marcher the quickest, and now Nicholas Goebel and David Terron make their presence known. Terron by almost 2/10.
Yeah, shock here. Ollie Bailey, though, is down in 10th. So he's having a bit of a trouble. Now, what can Grozdanic do as well? Hasn't set a lap time at the moment. Just waiting. And with it just going, you can understand Dalmases also just going up just a 10th behind Terron, as we just start to see what can the man do. Grozdanic is looking And he gets a really nice run here as he starts to just load up to the corner into 13. Tries not to overdo it at Leyendijk. And it is going to be interesting. You talk about Leyendijk here. A car is his IndyCar winning car is in a museum. These drivers would love to be in some sort of museum. It's called the virtual internet. It's the championship for the MX5 United. Grosdanik's going to come across the line, and he puts that car straight on pole position.
0.03 of a second says that's enough. There's Lars Ulrich then in the Pro-Am category. It is Valentin Marchais who is in control of that at the moment, and Ulrich here is now looking to try and make that push through the final corner, and this will be an abandonment of the lap, so that's going to hurt then in the early stages of this. In fact, we've already ticked over halfway. David Theron looking to try and improve on that second lap, get into the window to say, this is what I'm capable of doing, this is where I can find the pace. You've got drivers in and around that top 10 like Xavier Kane, Matt Kendall, got Adrian Borowski in there, Giuseppe Milo too, looking to jump up the order. Lars Fischer then moves up. Ade Koba can't improve, only stays in P4. Teron taking the path of least resistance to the line and does not improve, short by 0.2 of a second. That is huge. Now, what can the Zenith driver do? Hamed Almaced making a push over to the line. Is this going to be enough to find 0.2 of a second to say this is good enough over the line? It is an improvement. It's good enough for third.
Good enough for third, and look how tight it is in the top 6. As we see Javier Kane now. What can Javier do? He's just lost a couple of positions as he's coming across, trying not to cut too much off the first part of the hands. Urcha Kane. And then using that curve, using all the power that this Mazda can provide. He comes around finally. He does need to improve. He's only 0.4 off the leaders, but that just goes to show 0.4 is only good for P10 so far in qualifying. Needs a real good finish to the line. Full on the power. He is quicker. He is quicker than what he has set before on the pace. Can he make this better? It's into the 51. No, he improves, but he misses out again. He can't get out of P10.
He can't, and so that will hurt. Per Sandberg maybe the only driver who can find improvement out there in qualifying, because we are in the late stages. Jorge Diaz is another one, and Michael Tanagretta's only on his first lap, but it is a hard count of 10 minutes here today. So for Sandberg, working through at turn number 9, now leading over towards turn number 10. He's really going to have to work here to try and find this time. He's 0.9 of a second off of pole, and he'll be eyeing up, finding at least 3 of them to jump up 2 places. So it's a really awkward, I would say, divide in the pace that you've got here today, that it is the top 13 that look great, and everyone else is just a little bit off kilter at this moment. Out of Hans Ers, and now looking to make that run to turn 13. Sandberg working hard through 13, now looking to try and get as much as he can. He's a bit wide off of the exit here, and that will really compromise his Arie Luyendyk as he looks to make that charge over for the stripe and hope that there is a couple tenths of a second in the back pocket. A 51.5 is what he's on, and he's done a 51.4, so he's jumped Giuseppe Milo, but cannot gain anything more than that. It only now lies on Michael Tanagretta to finish with 1.5 minutes on the clock. He is going to be very close, Craig, to getting this second lap in.
Very close, but I think he actually might get that done. I was interested there watching Sandberg because he went a bit too hot into the corner, got on the throttle a little bit too early, and that's why he ran on the gravel there. May have cost him a 10th. I don't think it would have changed anything in where he went, but Tanagretta, he's got 1 minute left to make this, and you can just see trying to get the most out of this. I mean, when you look at the top 10 as well right now, the biggest gap in the top 10 between drivers is a 10th. Everybody else in the top 10 is less than a 10th away from the guy in front. Ade Koba, a 4,000 behind Lars Fischer, as Tanagretta will be, hopefully, fingers crossed, with 37 seconds to go, the last man to set a time will be coming into the hands of Chicane. I just think it's going to be a bit too close for him there, Jake, and he runs a little bit onto the gravel there, and a slide hitting a lot of that gravel on the exit. That might cost him 22 seconds. This is going to be a race to the line.
It will do. He is an AM category driver. You can tell on our timing tower that all the pros are listed in white and all the AMs are listed in black there on the right. So keep an eye on that as Tanagrat at 8 seconds. This is going to be tight. 5 seconds, it's going to be close. He's going to get there with 2 seconds to go. A 54 flat, and that is only good enough for 30th position out there. 33 runners here today. The field is set, and it will look as follows. It is your championship leader, Adnan Grozdanic, who will be on the pole position on a 150.676. And then it's the 2 Spaniards who will be sat behind the 7 of David Teron, and then Jaume Dalmases in 3rd place. Lars Fischer will go from 4th as Ade Koba and Nicholas Goebel will be 5th and 6th, as Adrian Borowski and Justin Hodge will house out row number 4. 9th will belong to Michael Chase, the 2nd American inside the top 10, and the 1st Aussie, Xavier Kane, rounds out your 10.
We come to 11th, and it'll be Matt Kendall in 11th with Henry Friedman in 12th. Ollie Bailey, the number 1 car, in unlucky 13th with Per Sandberg. We just saw them in 14th. Giuseppe Milo will take 15th with Valdemar Scher in 16th, followed by Nuno Vieira in 17th. Jake Ratcliffe will be 18th, with Adrian Luino in 19th. Eugenio Pellicci rounds out the top 20.
Over the page to 21st, where Dennis Lins in the 555 finds himself with Elijah White. Vincent van der Meulenbroek will be in 23rd with Braden Hope, and then Philip Scriffignano in 25th. It's then Ferris Krippendorf in 26th. Row 14 is Henry Mantle and Charles Wolff, as you've got Jorge Diaz and Michael Tanagretta on row 15. Your final 3 drivers, Victor Bernas, you then got Thiago Corilandia, and then no time set for Lars Orish, who will have to go from 33rd on the grid here today to go and make this work. It is going to be a full pace lap to get themselves up to speed, and as we know, it's a notoriously slow pace lap behind the pace car around this place in the iRacing BMW safety car that is being run here today. And still those foggy conditions remain out there with a 19-degree track temperature in sim time 11:30. And over the course of this race, there is going to be next to no movement on those conditions that go around this place here today. So they will have all of that to figure out as they go through, but a chance to look at those maybe who want to make some progress here today. So I look at those in 5-star colouring, needing to make a statement. I look at Lars Fischer, I look at Nicholas Goebel, I look at David Teron. Those 3 have to work together as a team to box out everybody else.
And you know bump drafting oh so well, Jake, and I feel that's what we might be seeing by those drivers. And if we see a train, we may get some NASCAR side-by-side on the straight, as those 5-star drivers probably will work together to try and get in the front peloton style. So that's going to be one to keep an eye out for. We talk about the slow pace lap, 65 kilometers an hour, the BMW safety car, almost the other brand there for a moment, is going. That's only 5 kilometers an hour faster than the pit lane speed. So this is a slow lap, and you can't really warm your tires up. Even though it's cold out here today, they have to be very careful not to overheat it. Key point for the first lap, Jake, won't be turn 1. Hugenholtz, I predict, will be the danger zone for the first lap, because so many cars will try and take the inside to turn 3, and it doesn't work. You need to go high around Hugenholtz to make sure you get that position.
Because there's so much banking, it allows that slingshot effect out of the corner, and so that will give as much of a run up the rest of the hill that you get. And so the inside is one of the few times where we say it does not work out there. Through the Masters corner, which is the toughest corner out there on the circuit, it is so easy to find yourself in that Tech Pro barrier there on the right hand side, and then into turn number 9 you're looking at this corner as the culmination of 4 straight right-hand bends. You've got to make sure that you are absolutely on your marks for the next left-hander that comes along at turn number 10. If you're in and around that top 15, you don't want to be on the wrong side of the break, and your AM leader in qualifying was Valdemar Marchais. He's got 2 places on Jake Ratcliffe, who will be the nearest challenger. Adrian Luño is going to be third in that and really looking to try and make a push. It's going to be a bit of work for the homeboy Vincent van der Meulenbroek, who found himself a little down in qualifying in 23rd. So he'll try and leapfrog his way up, knowing how difficult today is going to be and knowing that the pit stop window is going to be an interesting one too, as they look to try and set themselves up. So this is going to be all about hold yourself steady. This is going to be all about giving yourself time to let the race develop and then work on that as they go. There's troubles already for Victor Bernas, who is out with a drop of connection right on the pacing lap. So for Bernas, the Hungarian, he'll now have to try and race to get back into server, and he might drop a lap here on the start. A real shame for the driver who qualified the car in 31st position on the grid. But as the pace car works its way to Arie Luyendyk, it will be the control of Adnan Grozdanic who keeps it down low. David Teron will try and work, but it's 3 5-star cars all in a line. Who's going to say they will do what they need to as the green flag drops for round 2 of the championship? Immediately covers go to the left-hand side. Nicholas Goebel got a good launch then from that second row, third row even, as they work in towards the opening corner. Outside line, needed for David Teron. It won't work. Dalmas's now on the inside. Now if you can command Gerlach corner here, Craig, you'll have a great shot for the Hugenholz, and look at that launch.
Great launch as well, and I think Teron had to do a little bit of gravel driving there on the exit of Tarzan. Not doing good for Per Sandberg, already in the back of the field. We looked at him earlier, he's at the back of the field with an incident. Ollie Bailey's lost a position. Marcher, hard charger, up 3 places, but they get through. Grozdanic will love this. He's managed to pull just enough ahead of all those 5-star drivers. He doesn't have to worry too much about them, because Dalmas's is right there, and he has a rear view mirror of so many 5-star cars.
Oh, they're all there. They're all trying to get through, and there's still a bit of side-by-side as they try and work through. That's the pass then from Henry Mackenzie Friedman there on Matt Kendall, getting it done at Masters, and in front of that, now it's going to be Xavier Kane who will look to try and bring that box back in. So Henry making absolutely wonderful moves then at the start of this one. Kendall starts to go backwards. One green car goes a little bit the wrong way. That's Luño who's going to end up seeing in front of him Valdemar Marcher now directly in his sights. Jake Ratcliffe now making some good progress and looking to lead the AM category.
Yeah, we just see, you can see there, remember the white numbers are the white signs are the pros, and the blacks are the pro out of the AMs. And we see Luino as well trying to make some moves, already up 2. Ahead of him he's got Marcher, and Marcher is holding, just let Giuseppe Milo go through. But this is the problem, look at them all just touching that gravel for a moment there. They're following on, but the leaders will come forward now. Is this a sign of what's to come? Will the 5-star drivers go for anything there? Well, Fisher's getting a little bit of a bump drop from David Teron. I think that's what we were expecting to see, and thanks to that, they're all the way back up right next to Dalmas's.
Yeah, there's a little look, though, of an instant that happened between the 7, the 83 and the 73. So that would be Teron, Kane, and also then that number 73 car, which is out there at the moment, which is Ferris Krippendorf. All 3 different incidents that happened on the opening lap of the race. But Teron will now look to climb the hill with Fisher and Hamed Almases in front, and now they have to settle down and get into the rhythm. They will know that in a race like this, it pays not to be first because you'll burn your fuel, but it pays to be in that group. It is 6 clear at the front. Borowski and Hodge now having to really work hard to not be the divide.
And Hodge feels a little bit racy at the moment, but realizes no point trying to get aggressive so early. Remember, there's 47 minutes left to go, so no point to just get aggressive. Just wait, see if we're going to work together. Let's look at this replay with Per Sandberg just coming down, not even making it there to turn 3. It was turn 2, just a little clip there, goes sideways. The manager doesn't need to Austin Powers it, but he's on the grass with a little bit of cold tires. Never going to work, but I'll tell you what is working. Hodge is right. He may be a little bit racy. He may feel he's faster than Borowski, but they've caught up to the rest of them here. There's Ade Koba and Nicholas Goebel. They have caught up to this battle just enough. That's what they would love to do this early in the race.
Well, I think for Per Sandberg there, that was a case of trying to preserve everyone else's race. He was so early onto the brakes that he slid into the grass rather than spinning that one out wide and going into the slew of cars that were there. I think that's where you start sensing where the race is, as it's currently at the moment Grozdanic holding himself steady and making his margin known at the front of this field. He'll have Lars Fischer with the fastest lap back there, and it is side by side as well for the AM category lead 2. Jake Ratcliffe and Valdemar Marcher together. You've got Luño as well in the group, so that'll be another one to keep very intently in mind. But at least for the moment, Grozdanic is holding himself steady. There is Hodge looking to make a move up through Slopemaker, and this will be the long way around Skivlak, which is the toughest way get that move done. Borowski holds the inside line, but it's not going to make too much difference there. Hodge holds himself steady and gets the pass at the cost of 4/10 and potentially losing slipstream.
Losing slipstream, but I think with the pace he was showing on the middle section of last lap, I think he's going to be happy with that. He managed to make that move with confidence. Just a little bit later on the braking, using that trail braking to really work with him, and it did help. Probably having some moments out there, but Henry Mantle also having some moments. Actually, I did say that, and Hodge just lost the position. We keep on board with Henry Mantle battling not to start. He would like, he's already down 3 places going on. Back to Xavier Kane. Just a key moment here with the 83. That lap 1 incident with the 7, the 83 and the 73, all deemed a racing incident, so everyone's safe at the moment.
Yeah, the case of Justin Hodge was just the slide going into turn 10, so it cost the place, and critically, the gap. So your top 6 have got themselves clear, and now they can focus on just driving forward, staying in range, playing the fuel game, and doing exactly what they need to, as we watch from the back of Hodge here, looking to see through the fumes and vapours how Xavier Kane will look to try and get this past. Matt Kendall watches on as they head to Tarzan, turn number 1. Now, how much banking do you command? An easy pass down on the inside. Just behind that, Michael Chase in a bit of a scrap right now as he realises that Henry Mackenzie Friedman wants through. Here comes the look back at turn 2 at Gerlach, and it's not going to happen here for Hodge. He'll have to hold himself in the queue.
Yeah, if he could have just held that side-by-side with an overlap there, as Eugenio Pollicci trying to make some moves. That's a bit of a slingshot. Real nice move there for Eugenio. Yeah, if you just tried to go side-by-side through Gerlach, and just look how happy he is. Adrian Luino knows that he's in a little bit of trouble. Side-by-side with Pollicci, and he just lets off. If you know that's the situation, let's just go for it. If you're a little bit slower, you just feel the guy's a little bit faster, it's a long day. Yes, he would like to get some positions. Yes, he would like to keep up with the drivers he's battling with in the championship. But let's get to the finish line first. Let's just take it 1 lap at a time. They're going to do about 27 laps out there today. So let's just wait for your opportunity. Just get your groove going, because these guys, they're just in their own little groove at the moment. And that's a little bit of a split there, albeit 3/10 from the top 2 to the rest of the field.
Yeah, and so with that little split that you keep on seeing here, they will divide and divide and divide, and these early stages are about holding on to a tow rope and giving yourself a platform. If you can stay with the cars in front of you, that's the way you win these races. If you can't stay with the cars in front of you, you're going to be in a world of trouble out there in this one. All cars still circulating as we focus with Ade Koba here in 5th position, and very calm is Ade at this moment in time. Don't see any worry on his face. He knows what the race is as they go side by side for 7th and 8th behind, as Borowski will lose the place to Kane. Big lunge down the inside by Justin Hodge will go and gather it back, and behind that, Friedman still trying to work on Michael Chase and gets it done in the back of that shot.
And it all comes down to the fact that you've got that camber at Tarzan. And I think that just throws a few drivers off, because if you're half and half, that's where you lose the time. If you're going to go off at the camber, you've got to go all the way as Marcher. That's not the way, well, that's a slow car there. That's not the way you want to be going. Did not see who that was. I think it was Marcher just going on by. Yeah, it was actually Marcher. Ferreira gets on. They're going to go side by side with a little bit of overlap with Ratcliffe. Nuno gets that done. Very good going. Now, it's Pollucci going to look for a move. That's a very ambitious dive, and he gets on the brakes. Some drivers are being really testy right now. I was not expecting that to Skivlak, as we're seeing through the fire and the flames. They're no Herman Lee, but they're going to be marching on for the rest of it. Ferreira is struggling to now hold off a hard-charging Ratcliffe and Palucci.
Well, Ratcliffe is the leader of AM at the moment, and Eugenio Pulici will move for the inside at turn 10. It forces the line off then for Ratcliffe, the Welshman, and so it will lead Valdemar Marcher into position with Luno just sitting back there and saying, look, we're going to have cars interspersed between us in this battle. We don't want to do anything silly in the opening 10 minutes of this race. They still have a pit stop to think about here in this, and so the question will not be if you want to go and make a pit stop, it's when, and there's almost overlap there, and Pulici then was very much always going to command the space, and Marcher had to back out of it on the brakes.
Yeah, Pulici almost did a pit maneuver on himself, and you can see he's all right now. He's a little bit calm. I would be a little bit sweating if I was in that car right now just to what happened, but what can Adrian do right now? He's going to see if he can do it. Luno is going to look, doesn't need to, but he's overcooked it. That's a little bit of gamesmanship there. That's really smart. That's kind of like the old Hamilton days when you would used to pull out to one side to say, am I going for it? Am I not? I think for Luno, he wanted to go for it, realized it was too late, and now he's going to go battling. Side by side, they'll go through the Hugenholtz, but again, the high side's the better side. In front of them, a little bit of side by side. Ratcliffe just holds off, though, able to just keep this going, but look how close. Might see a move here. No, it's not there at the moment.
Very much the Italian driving style to get as close as possible to your battlers out there. It's one where you just note that every single time it's the way that they go, it's the commitment that they bring to every single race out there, and Pulici showing that with not just Ratcliffe, but earlier on with Luno and Marcher. Now the group starts to form here with this 6, and now they're going to be looking at, right, we're settled down, we're in a rhythm, we know that Adnan Grozdanic leads this race, but how do we want to make this race go? How aggressive do we want to be? And when you've got multiple drivers in the train right now, like Fischer, Teron and Goebel, who do you sacrifice off the back of the train to pit early to try and get the launch on someone else? You can't go alone in a race like this and pit. It takes two to tango.
Takes two to tango, so let's go with that oval super speedway aspect right here, Jake, because you're going to have to find a buddy here, a buddy system to go. I think Brandon Hopes had a moment out there. We'll just see what happened to him as well. It's actually Elijah White having a moment, but with these drivers, they need to work as a team. This is pack racing at its best, so you almost want to coordinate with everybody. So I think the 5-star guys, they will be going with one another here. The rest of them, they're going to have to find a buddy to go with, because this is not the track. Well, this is not even the format or the car that you want to go and try and undercut. An undercut would be huge, but everyone is saving fuel at the moment, and they're just making sure that they can just go as far as they can. As Fischer, right now, he's in possibly the best place he can be, Jake. We always talk about in a draft track, third is usually the better place. I feel Lars is in a good position, but the key thing here, don't expect to see any of these top 6 make any overtakes until after the pit stops.
Lars Fischer is a very quick driver, but he does have a tendency, and it is possibly the worst tendency to have as a driver, Craig, of being really, really quick, really consistent, but that consistency does not translate to wins.
No, it doesn't translate to wins. It just, unfortunately, just translates to good results, but that's not what you need. You need wins. Let's have a look at a replay, because we did say that Elijah White and I think it was Jorge Diaz as well getting caught up in this. Here they are just coming into that tough chicane, and is it just one driver taking a bit too much? Oh, he goes too wide. He gets on the throttle too much, just clips in, and there you go. It's a concertina effect. 2 cars get caught up there. Everyone managed to get around. Oh, and then the second hit. Not the on-purpose second hit. Just the tires just saying, I don't want you. You're going to have to go. And Palucci, he's had taken a tow as well. An issue out there with Eugenio, who is driving so well today, the number 27.
Yeah, he's had a hit through turn 10, and that was with Jake Ratcliffe. And then as he was trying to get the turn through the corner, nowhere to go, Adrian Luno T-bones at the side, and Eugenio Pulici is out then of this race, realizes I'm not going to get anything from this. My day is run. So Luno ends up then with damage and having to take that pit stop early then with the fast repair. So Luno in a bit of a sticky situation here in this race, but now at the front, that's a bit too wide. Adnan Grosdanic, and I wonder how much deliberation there is on this to try and get someone else to jump up to the front so I can now start saving some fuel. It's Hamid Almasset who now leads.
Yeah, and you do wonder if Grosdanic was just almost going, well, he's not. He's a little bit annoyed at that. But if you did see his face, you'd probably think he was going, oh, no, I've gone a little bit too wide and I might have to lose the lead. What a shame, but that's probably the best case scenario for him, just to see what happened. I'm just looking as well on the timing tower. A lot of drivers noted for that lap, for a lap 7 incident. The 555, one of them is, well, I'm just looking, the 555, the 19, the 46, the 27, the 11, the 77. So all of those involved in that moment we saw on the replay are being investigated to make sure that everyone kept on safe. Well, I think there'd be one result with that, but with one driver out of the race and retired, I don't think a penalty would do too much.
Yeah, let's take a look at it then and see exactly how that befell as they went through. So Pellicci and Ratcliffe then were side by side. There was a little tag and then just the rears start to let go for Pellicci. Lunio ends up getting broadside as he works through, so he's got nowhere to go. That causes the avoidance, and Pellicci with damaged suspension just has nowhere to go. Now, leading 6 here, they've pulled out now a 3-second margin here over the likes of Justin Hodge and Xavier Kane and Borowski in that second pack. And so they'll be looking at this going, yeah, we're not really doing much at the moment, but they are doing something, and that is keeping that second pack away. And the moment that they keep that second pack away, there's nothing they can do except fight for 7th. Per Sandberg trying to work his way back through the field here, as here comes a little push on Ferris Krippendorf by Valdemar Marcher in the mock-up Rexy, and here comes the chance again for Sandberg. He'll now need this inside line to come along, but it's critical for Krippendorf to back out of it then, so Per Sandberg leads the next train.
I wonder if that little bump drop there from Marcher just threw Krippendorf off a little bit, because he was going very slidey through Tarzan there for a moment. So I do wonder if something happened, but side by side behind Charles Wolfe, now going side by side with Marcher, and I think Rexy's going to have to just accept that they're going to have to wait a little bit. No, but he's going to go side by side through into Shivlak at 7, and they're going to hold this side by side. And this is not good, because Sandberg and Krippendorf is going to get ahead here, and on the gravel, Marcher has to hit the brakes there, realizes the situation that I might be able to make this move, but the key thing, if he goes a bit too hot, is not to do that and just work to make sure you don't lose these 2 guys ahead.
No, you can't afford to get caught up in a little incident here and a little incident there. And for the case of Valdemar Marcher, he has been just wrong place, wrong time, and so that gap starts to fall away. You've got Michael Chase here in the middle of this group now, behind Xavier Kane. So you've got Borowski, Kendall, Friedman, Chase, Bailey and Milo, all here in this second pack, knowing they're playing piggyback at the moment. Giuseppe Milo just off the back of it, and they are starting to think about pit stops, because in comes David Terron from the leading group. So this is the first real salvo thrown. It's early by David Terron, but someone at 5 Stars got to do the alternate.
Someone's got to do the alternate, and Terron as the alternate is a bit of a surprise. But if he's ready to make the sacrifice, he's ready to make the sacrifice. It may hurt him, it may help him, but he's going to be away from these guys right now, because these guys are not catching. Matt Kendall, Borowski, Kane, Hodge, Friedman and Chase as well with them. Even Ollie Bailey, if everyone's going. There is David Terron. And I wonder, actually, looking at the map, this may also just be a case of the track is free, Jake. You look at where Terron is. Yes, he's got the back markers in the AMs, but that's it. He's got no one that came out right beside him going into Tarzan. He had a very clean run there. I wonder if that was also just the track was free and he just took that decision.
I think so as well, and I'm getting word in that there is a 5-second time penalty for the number 19 car. That's Vincent van der Meulenbroek then for lap 7 and the incident that happened there. So van der Meulenbroek is going to pick up a time penalty at the end of this race, so that will certainly hurt. It does also, in terms of this group here at the front, when we see Terron's pit stop, open up that gap a little bit for Ade Cobra and Nicholas Goebel. They're going to have to work a little bit harder now to get themselves back into play, and those 2 drivers, Goebel and Cobra, are lightning fast. They have fought each other all of 2 years ago, and now they're looking to try and prove that they can still fight up there at the top. And in comes Adekoba at risk of losing the train. Now wants to isolate the driver Nicholas Goebel there, because Fischer, Grosdanic and Dalmases now are trying to pull away.
Yeah, I wonder if Coda has done this on purpose as well because of where Taron is. And this is going to be a quite interesting litmus test, because if he comes out ahead of Taron,
left side tyres.
It works. And it is left side tyres. That doesn't surprise me. A lot of power and a lot of strain on those tyres. Very interesting decision, but a smart decision. Here comes David Taron. What is he going to do? He'll come out now. Adekoba is out of the pit lane. Remember, he has to take the slow inside line here through turn 1. He actually gets 2 seconds ahead of Taron. That's a surprise there. Has he taken less fuel? He was a second less in the pits, cone to cone. I reckon he's saving a bit more fuel.
And if he's got that gap and he's got that second, he can now work off of Philip Scriffignano, who is there in front. And if he can jump up by Scriffignano, he can then start to power away. Taron, by comparison, still has to clear Orish, still has to clear Tanagretta, and this is where the race will be won or lost, by making these moves and getting them done. So the clearance is done for David Taron. He gets by Lars Orish without any issues at all. Now Michael Tanagretta's turn to start worrying about where he goes. He's pretty in pink today as he works through Master's Corner, but Taron will look to lunge here at turn 9, and late as late can be. He sends to the inside. He doesn't quite get what he wants, but he gets enough room on the outside. The respect there, but it'll be fought back at 10. Scriffignano cleared by Adekoba, but Taron is getting a bit of a fight on here.
Getting a bit of a fight, and I do feel that he was kind of forced there. Tangretta was trying to make sure he wasn't in the way, but with the way turn 8 into turn 9 worked, he had no choice. But he can't make this work now. He's going to have to just take a long line through the chicane at Hanserts, and that will be it. Taron gets on by. Key thing here as well is you've got to think that Koba has to heat those left side tires up as well, and there's still no reaction from anybody else at the front. Ferreira is into the pit, but that's not at the front of the field. So these guys at the front, nothing yet. And I think, again, you look at where the track is at the moment, you look at the way the track is looking, just ahead of Koba is some space, but it is a very narrow window, Jake. I don't think the drivers are looking at that. I think they're going to be hoping to start pitting when the rest of the field have already done their pit stop.
Well, there's a number of ways you can do it. You can take the early stop, you can take a later stop, and most drivers would love to go as late as they possibly can, run that tank dry and get just enough to get home at the end of this race. We're almost at halfway here in this one, and 1, 2, 3 and 4 they line up at the front of this one, with 5.5 now over to Justin Hodge in P5, who's a little bit stymied behind Jorge Diaz and Elijah White. So Dalmases then will look behind, sees Adnan Grozdanic there, who will be working away, will the Bosnian, to try and make a move to jump up back to the race lead again. But I think this is a case of the team working out there overall. I'll bump you, because when I bump you, you gain a little extra bit on the straight, and that will mean we'll gain a little bit of time on the straights if we keep pushing each other.
It's the buddy system at its best, but Grosdanic is not close enough to use this to his advantage. Neither is Fischer and Goebel, so not this what we were expecting, really, because we thought the 5-star guys would start to work together, and they did that earlier, but nothing at the moment. You look down the back here, Javier Kane pump drafting Hodge there, so that's working because they're trying to make sure the rest of the guys in this little pack, I say little, it's a big pack, is trying to make sure that they don't lose out here. So one of these drivers will have to blink first, and who do you look at to blink first, I reckon, in this group? I wouldn't be surprised if it's Borowski who will blink first in this little group. A little bit wide from Hodge there, but that's A-okay. But yeah, in this group, I think first to blink will be that number 13. For the front 4, it's hard to tell.
Yeah, I think the front four are looking at each other and they're trying to box each other out of this one here. Justin Hodges' group right now, they know they're racing for 7th, but they also know that with a couple of early pitters, if they don't do anything silly and they've got draft and the drivers around don't, like, for example, David Teron or Ade Koba, they've got a great chance. Last laps for the pair of them, they did 150.9. Jaume Dalmases, by comparison, a 51.4. Half a second's worth of difference. What they're banking on is the tyres just decide that there is going to be a little bit of wear that's going to make all the difference late on. It's about gaining an advantage now to lose an advantage later.
And I think this advantage works for them as well, because we were talking about they were pitting in a free air, clean air. Well, the front pack now are getting the issue where the back of the field is pitting, and they're starting to mix it in a little bit. So the lap traffic causing some issue for some of the cars. These guys don't have to worry about it. And there is Mühlebrücker right between Koba and Teron. That's nothing to worry about. Teron has been catching Koba. Is that a bad thing, though? Could they work together? Because remember, Koda, a 33.7 cone to cone for the pit. Javier Kane comes in, 34.7 for Teron. They are now less than 34 seconds away from the leaders. This might be working for them.
Kane's been followed in by Michael Chase, so he's got a buddy to work with, and Jake Ratcliffe with a very strong lead right now in the AM category, as everybody else behind has run either A into troubles or B finds themselves a little bit further down. So for the moment, Dalmases happy as here comes David Teron's turn to look to try and make the move on Vincent van der Mühlebrück here on home soil, virtual home soil, as it were. Easy pass needed, but Teron has to stay in range with the car in front with better tyres. Ade Koba is doing just enough to keep him at bay, and that's the difference as Michael Chase leaves pit lane.
And he was 4 seconds less in the pit than Javier Kane. So he's leapfrogged a couple positions. So that's going to be interesting later on. Charles Wolf also waiting to make some pit stops. Down the top 14 have not pitted yet. These are the last guys yet to pit. Sandberg, Charles Wolf, and Krippendorf as well. Krippendorf in the middle in that black and purple livery. They are going to be caught up. Well, they're not. 7 seconds away from them is Koba and Teron. So they know that this is where, as far as they're going to go today, they're probably going to work together. Wouldn't be surprised if they all pit together. But for the American, really not happy being at the back here and just catching some of that gravel. Probably will be hoping to try and make an overtake in the pit lane. And if one driver can do it, if Kane can do it, anyone can.
Jaume Dalmases is in, and that now leaves Grozdanic, Fischer and Goebel together. So will it be a case of making it work? All the Spaniards have come in first. It leaves the 2 Germans and the Bosnian left in the group. Ade Koba, who has cleared away of those Kendall in, Friedman in, Bailey in, Milo hits pit lane. So now this becomes a case of who manages to get what. Jake Ratcliffe, the AM leader, hits the pits too, and Ade Koba now will be seeing this is where my strategy either paid off or it didn't. Only now leaving the pits with a massive plume of tyre smoke. It's Jaume Dalmases, and this will be close through turn 1, but it looks like Koba with the banking is going to get the clearance, and it's going to have to be some work for Jaume Dalmases now as he's on the back of El Capitan Fantastico.
But the key thing is in the slipstream. Look at them, still in the slipstream, and hasn't picked up Teron. Teron gets past Mühlebrücker, who's there. In fact, Teron gets past everybody. So this is also good here for Teron. He's managed to jump a few of those players, but Dalmases is losing out. I think Dalmases took some side tires as well, having to get those up to temperature. But now they've gone. What do the top 3 do is the question. Surely now they have to look at making a reaction. I know 2 of them are 5-star drivers, but you've got to feel that this is where they start to look to make moves out there. Goebel, Fischer, Grozdanic. I'm saying, Jake, if they see the rest of the field with 22 minutes to go, hit now so you get yourself all the time to try and make those moves back. Going to be interesting to see how they take these final corners. If they go a little bit lower on the exit line, Dyke, I think we'll be seeing them into the pits.
Well, the alarm bell will be that they have not got the time that they want. And look at them. 1, 2, no! It's going to be Goebel who stays out another lap. So he's going to try and get as much of an overcut as he can to work with the tyres in the final stages. Nicholas Goebel goes another lap, but it's a case of I will cover, says Lars Fischer, as Adnan Grozdanic hits his mark. So also in will be Adrian Borowski, one of the late drivers to come in and make a pit stop. And will any of that group of three then of Sandberg, Wolf and Krippendorf pit? They don't pit. So now it's Ade Kober, Hamed Almasses and David Teron as they sit and go. And look at the launch. Lars Fischer takes less in the stop, and he's going to leapfrog then Adnan Grozdanic, and he will inherit the race lead.
Yeah, great decision here. We thought the undercut worked for Koda here. It hasn't, and Koba has not. He's still there in a net P3. So the top 5 yet to pit, and I think the face there is showing it. He's showing the concentration, trying to get a really good sling back here, and he gets that sling back. And now side by side with Grozdanic, and you've got to feel 21 minutes to go. Dalmathers almost just got pit maneuvered and had to run onto the grass. I just felt they're getting a little bit racy because they know that they have to sort these positions out now. But if you think about it, if Fischer overtook here, did Goebel do the right move?
Mistake! Look at this. Ade's going to get the run out of Sheevlack here. He's got it at Master's corner. And it's going to be Grozdanic now trying to hold. They're going to let Lars Fischer go. And remember, Nicholas Goebel's yet to pit. He'll jump in almost 3 wide to turn number 9. Halmed Almasses now wants to jump up and take this one away. But for the moment, Ade Kober's got his clearance and now needs to settle down. Grozdanic gets back through. Then on Halmed Almasses. And now I think this race has just woken up from the sleepy slumber it was in. This is where the race now sits, and you look at Adnan Grozdanic, and he knows he's made one mistake, but look how hard Ade Kober now is starting to flex and tense here. He knows he's in a race. You can see the stress.
You can see the stress, and Goebel is in the pits. So now they know it's make or break time. And I wonder if that was just due to the fact that Grozdanic also on a little bit of cold tyres, just having a little bit of grip issues. But now they're going to have to work together to catch up to the back of Fischer. And I think Grozdanic will realise that. But where is Goebel? Everybody coming in. Sandberg, Krippendorf, Wolf already in. Goebel now starting to lead the pit lane. Hodge is also going there. They're going to fan out here. Grozdanic doesn't want to wait anymore. He's going to force Kober around the outside onto the high banking. And where's the rest of the field? They've jumped them.
Yeah, he's lost out. I think he's gone a bit too long on the fuel here. Everyone else has got the run on Nicholas Goebel. Ade Kober has to throw it down low. He's got to get up higher. He's going to lose out on the straight, and he does, but he'll bring David Teron into the battle, and suddenly it's 4 chasing 1. 8 tenths for Lars Fischer is the gap, but they have to organise here in this group. Otherwise, Lars is going to run.
Yeah, you can battle, but you don't at this early at the stage want to let the leader go, because that's just going to confirm Fischer in line to win the race today. So they have to be smart with these moves. There's also a black flag out there for the number 73 per Sandberg, getting a black flag out there for something that's happened. So we'll see what happened with that. Charles Wolf trying to go around the outside to try and make some moves as well. And these were the guys as well. It was actually going across the white line for Sandberg. So that's what caused it. But Wolf is now having to battle Sandberg, but that's just not where Sandberg wants to be right now. He's just going to have to accept that he has to come into the pits.
Lars Ulrich is your leader right now in AMS, and I wonder whether he'll have to come in again over the course of this race, because he's got a massive margin over the likes of those who are battling up top, like Lunio and Ratcliffe, for example. So this is well fought by Ulrich at this stage, but it is 3 clear at the front. There is your AM leader at the moment, and he's working through. Look at the way he peers into the corner right now. He's almost like he's looking over his nose.
Yeah, this almost looks like me driving my work van. It's just a little bit over the brim. Tries
all for the lead, Dalmathers.
We got to look at the lead. We got to look at the lead. Dalmathers trying to do 1, trying to do 2, but he's only going to get 1. They've caught up to the back of Fischer, and Fischer's under threat right now, Jake. And you can see Grozdanic had to accept that, trying to get some overlaps here through to Gerlach, but nothing to be. Fischer is in danger because Dalmathers is not the man you want to try and get off. Ulrich into the pits.
Yeah, so that will pretty much decide that as he jumps in. It should hand the race lead then of AM to Adrian Lugnot as in comes Per Sandberg for the penalty. So on the back of that is Jake Ratcliffe as Grosdanic climbs up to Sheevlat corner and looks to try and work himself then with Jaime Dalmases in front and Lars Fischer. These three know they've got a second on Ade Kober and David Terron. They want to run away if they can, but Ade Kober, if he can pull that back in, it's 5 to the party as they try and look to work this out. This is a critical moment of this race. It's about, do you want 3 to fight or do you want 5?
Well, with 16 minutes to go, I think the top 3 will just start to pull ahead a little bit. They don't want Ade or Terron to really catch up to them, so they're just going to hope that they can keep this smart right now. Dalmas only made the overtake because he had the overspeed, and you may see that next time by going into Tarzan, that one of these three may have the overdrive and will just make that move. Dalmatis doesn't want to do this right now, but he's going to actually try and do this. Very brave into turn 13, gets it done, and that allows Grosdanic to get on through. Not a place, a conventional place you expect to see an overtake.
No, but you take what you're given there, and now Adnan will start pushing. Jaime Dalmases loves to lead from the front of the field, and so Lars is someone who sits back and watches, and so everybody sits back and watches, and the group is 5. So now that brings again Ade Kober to the mix. David Terron is there in the mix, and now they start thinking about, well, there's 5 of us now, the group's big enough, so now it's about where do you want to be in the final laps. And with 15 minutes, I think it's still a little bit a case of looking around, be a little bit wary, but with 10 minutes, when it gets to 10 minutes, I think gloves come off.
I think gloves have already come off here, Jake. They've got a 3.5-second lead to Nicholas Gobo, an 8-second lead to Michael Chase, and the rest of that pack. So I feel that they're happy enough to just start going a little bit aggressive now. Try to see if there's some moves, because you never expect an overtake going into turn 13 any day of the week in any format. So I wonder if that was just also a little bit of mind games being played by the drivers. But the key thing here is you've got to be in it to win it. How much of a hindrance is Lars Fischer for Ade Kober right now? That could be decisive here. We talk about 5 cars here, Jake, but if Fischer can't keep up, it may just be 2 cars.
It definitely could be. There's a great battle, top right corner of your screen. Ollie Bailey right now in the middle of this one. Matt Kendall in front and Henry Mackenzie Friedman then behind. Xavier Kane trying to hold on, and so too Adrian Borowski. Your leaders work through Hans Erst, and despite being dropped by that group, they're only 10 seconds off the lead right now, this secondary pack, so they haven't lost masses and masses of time out there. So that has certainly been something to keep in mind as they have been working through. But Grosdanic now sat looking for the perfect time to go and make this work. Lars Fischer here over this last lap hasn't been able to hold a similar amount of pace, and so there's a question about how much outright pace certain drivers have.
And actually, Lars goes a bit too deep, and I think that just goes to show. We watch Krippendorf having his little battle right now. Jake Ratcliffe, Charles Wolf, and Adrian Lugnot. And in fact, that's a spin for Lugnot, and that's not what the French driver wanted to see. He was in that battle, leading the AMs, and out of nowhere, the frustration, and well, he keeps it very calm on the face. I got to give some applause to that, but that's got to be frustration. Loses that 3 position, but crucially loses the lead of the AM class.
I think it's more disappointment than anything else for Adrian Lugnot, as he will realise that after that he's got damage and he'll have to come down in again to go and make the pit stop. So that will completely stymie his attempts today. Jake Ratcliffe now in a big scrap and leader. He will look around and see back who is there that can actually challenge me in this one, and I believe it will be Fonda Muhlenbroek, who will be probably the next one to keep an eye out on then, as well as Scriffignano. So he's got a huge gap out there as Krippendorf watches on.
Yeah, and because Marcher had that crash earlier on in the day and having to take an early pit stop, he's been losing out time there. So he had the de facto lead of the championship after one race. Will belong to Jake Ratcliffe here in that number 8, but we're on board with Krippendorf, the 77. Not really doing a Valtteri Bottas here, but it's nothing to be really crying about at the moment. This is tough out there to really make the moves, and hats off to Krippendorf, up 8 places today. Not the hardest charger. That Charles Wolf and Ulrich, who've both made up 12, but you cannot, in a 50-minute race, you cannot shake your finger just going up 8 places in the race.
No, you can't. And so, as you're trying to say, where can you go and find these places? We are heading in towards the end game where every position is going to matter and every point will matter for various and prospective championships that are there. 5 still at the front, and a very big gap for Jake Ratcliffe to go and work with in the AM category as it stands. Matt Kendall here sees going through Michael Chase in front. This would be for 7th. He's dropped Ollie Bailey a little bit and Henry Mackenzie Friedman, and now he's got I Set Forward.
I Set Forward on Michael Chase, and these have been doing some really good time. Kendall, as we watch Friedman here, Kendall was actually the driver that spent the most time in the pits, managed to make it work. We're going to see a battle here as well. Krippendorf trying to go on the attack here on Ratcliffe. Gets it done. That's not what Jake wants to see. Can he make a response here into Gerlach? He cannot. So just what Krippendorf wanted. He wanted an overtake. He's got the overtake. Can he leap ahead of Wolf next time by? That would be vital because he may be able just to start to pull away. And that position will be vital. Bottom of the table, always good for points. Kendall still battling out there. You've got battles on battles. This is what we wanted.
Yeah, Henry Mackenzie Friedman side by side with Ollie Bailey, and Ollie, the reigning champ, is going to have to play defensive here in this secondary group. I don't think he's got the pace that he did last season, and as he hits the brakes, it is going to be comfy there for him to hold off Henry at this point, with Borowski there with Xavier Kane looking to join. It's 6 in this group now, trying to work and say this is where we're going to be. Michael Chase finding himself in his own position, and now I'm starting to wonder if Lars Fischer's going to drop a second here at the front as Dennis Linds gets through on Michael Tanner Greta by the looks of it here at Shevlak corner. Only just,
and Tanner Greta was on that rear, and not a lot that Linz can do as we're overseeing him on the board. We don't see his hands, but we see his face. That's good enough to just show what he has to do, and that's smart. He saw the aggressive move Tanner Greta was going to do, decide to wait, and now he's going to be looking, but we've got to get back to this. One driver goes onto the gravel, and that is the elite. That is the number 1. Ollie Bailey having some moments out there. There goes Dennis Linz, as you see 2 cars off into the gravel in picture, but Bailey is struggling out there. He's going down the order, and Borowski, well, he's the next man who could be claiming a victim.
Another one is the case, and Borowski side by side with Kane, and Xavier Kane is going to hold, but now they drop off the back of this group, and they'll have to work hard to rejoin it. It's teetering at a second at the front of the field, though. Lars Fischer really struggled going through the Hugenholz. He couldn't take as much pace. Michael Chase then through Masters Corner, going to have to defend here. There's a car off the road over at turn 10, and that is going to be Corey Landia, who is off the road. But here's the side-by-side. Friedman through on Michael Chase, and now we'll be looking up to try and see if he can join Matt Kendall.
He would love to join Matt Kendall, try and pull Chase and Bailey away or push them away to try and make some moves. I've been keeping my eyes on Fischer. He does have the fastest lap of the race, but at this moment, you need more. You need to be putting him faster lap after faster lap. So this is what these guys are doing. Grosdanek, look at the gap. Just look at it. It's still less than a second. He's still getting it. But if I'm Ade Koba, if I'm David Taron, I'm starting to worry here. There's 8 minutes left. If Fischer can't hold on, you're going to have to make a move. And they're unable to get close enough to make moves at the moment, Jake.
Yeah, and if you can't make a move because you pitted early and the tyres just aren't letting you, Lars Fischer here is just going to slowly bleed that time, and this is what we call death by paper cut at the moment, because at 8/10, this is not good enough. You're not going to be able to go and fight for the win, and it is what we were saying. And I keep noting, look how narrow through the mid part of the corner Lars Fischer goes at the Hugenholz. It costs him a 1/10.5 every time, and look at him now. He realises this isn't going to work. I've not got the pace. Ade, go through. You too, David Teron, because I need to try and find a way to save myself. I wonder if he underfueled the car and whether he's having to clutch and fuel save.
He spent the shortest amount of time in the pit, 31.6 seconds, cone to cone. And I do wonder, that's 2 seconds faster than anybody else. So I think he may have realized that his teammate Taron was right there behind. It meant sacrificing a position for Ade, but at the same time, it allows him to catch up, and if Fischer needs these guys to go ahead, they can. And I wonder if it's because he got the jump. Remember, he got the jump on everyone. Maybe he owned the field because he wasn't expecting that, and that may have been the issue for him. So now he's just going to have to follow someone else's charge. But that gap now between the top two and P3 and P4 is 1.5 seconds. Well, Koba, you're a great driver. I don't know how you're going to do it, but in 7 minutes, you got to try and find a 1.5 seconds.
Well, you're going to have to rely on those two at the front, battling hard against each other as Ollie Bailey here in this second group, racing around for best of the rest honours, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th and 12th out there at this moment. They're all trying to work out, well, where are we going to be as they are bump drafting at the front of the field, trying to get the clearance side by side. David Oran realises, I'm beat, I'm going to go to the outside and we're going to fight for third, are we? It looks like that. So Ade Koba, defensive, holds himself steady and realises that the Spaniards aren't going to work together here. It's a case of the man from the Gran Canarias looking around and seeing, guess what? I've got nothing. It's Adnan and Jaume who will race for the victory here today at Zandvoort.
Yeah, and again, look at that shallow line as well from Hugenholtz. So it almost looks like they've just conceded that this is where it's going to be. You want to battle for the podium? Okay, you've only got one podium spot, and it's going to be P3. So now you just look at the top two, and we'll wait to see what happens with the top two. 5 and a bit minutes left to go here, Jake. I'm thinking, if now's the time to start the gloves taking off, if now's the time to throw it down, you're not two goaltenders, you're not looking for one of those rare fights, you are the enforcers. You have to start fighting right now, and I wonder what's going to happen. These guys are still fighting. Wolf, Krippendorf, and of course you've got Ratcliffe. Still nothing to separate them, even though, look at who's managed to get ahead. It's so close out there, and this is what we expected in an endurance format.
The MAV teammates then together trying to work hard then and gain their places late on in this one. Michael Chase still stuck in the middle of this group, knowing that Friedman and Kendall have the run out there at the front, and so now it's about give yourself room. There's lap traffic on the right-hand side that wisely jams on the brakes and lets all 6 of them go by, but now you're thinking about, okay, you need one position here. Linz and Tanagretti, by the way, have come together. They both apologise to each other on the radio, so something's happened between them. But 4 minutes 50, that's where it sits, as this was Lars Ulrich then on the replay, going for a lazy spin from second in arm.
Yeah, almost looks like the grip just left him. Is there going to be any moves here? The leaders went bump drafting up the start-finish line, so they're not looking to make any moves at the moment. What about this pack? And you could almost throw a whole blanket over these 5 cars, 6 cars even. Nothing yet left. And it is a tough track, modern day cars, to make overtakes around here. You have to look at those unconventional moves like we saw for the lead in turn 13 a few laps ago. But for these cars, they have to rely on that double toe to not hinder them. And if you're a guy like Javier Kane, your Borowski, your Ollie Bailey, you cannot pull out. You almost have to follow the hole that someone else makes. Otherwise, you're just stuck there.
4 minutes left in this race. Jaume Dalmases and Adnan Grozdanic, they've given themselves a platform where they've got 2 seconds on the cars behind them, and they know that the moment they start going wheel to wheel, it's going to be all about how much time have they given each other. Dalmases, who's got the pedigree and the history as a 2-time MX5 World Tour champion, Adnan Grozdanic as a driver who is the championship leader walking into today's round. This is a case of, can I improve my standing, or am I just taking the points as they come? Jaume loves racing from the front of the field. We've seen it so often, and Adnan Grozdanic just has to try and make 91 crack.
Yeah, and how do you make a tough egg crack? Well, you need a spoon, and you've got to make sure it's under the pressure and a lot of heat, and there's not a lot of heat out there today. They'll come around the banking through Arie Luijendijk. Is there going to be anything this time? Because Grozdanic went for a bump draft last time, and he's happy to bump draft again, and I'm wondering, is he complacent here? You can't be complacent. Stone face just looks over, just checked everything's fine, but stone face, he's not showing his cards at the moment. Lap traffic will be ahead, but I wonder what he's holding.
Fischer pits, he had not enough fuel. He comes into the pit, he's gonna have to take some service, and then he's going to have to get back out again. What a shame for Lars Fischer, who will have to take a second pit stop and get himself back out again. Ollie Bailey is promoted up to 10th then, as he will look around and see that he will lose out a couple places to Borowski and Kane in the top of shot. But for Grosdanic, he'll know there's traffic, and traffic means a pick.
Traffic, give it from traffic, take him away. However, though, who's going to be the one that makes a move here? And it goes from bad to worse for Fischer because he got a black flag for pit for the white line infringement. So that's gone bad to worse for him, but we got to keep our eyes on this. Lap traffic gets out the way. Did he get out the way a bit too late for Dalmasas? No. Manages to hold this, and I'm thinking right now it's going to be one to go next time by, Jay. If I'm Grosdanic, I have to make this move. But again, what's he doing? We can't tell what he's doing. He's got a stone face right here. He's not showing that he's got two aces.
Turon's not got enough fuel here, and Nicholas Goebbels just gone flying by, and I think he's going to reach Ade Cobra as well and go by him. So the Spaniards are both running low on fuel here and trying to get behind someone to save. Look at this. That is Nicholas Goebbels, all of a sudden, and look at that next group that's now caught them. They've still got a lap to go yet, so they are going to be desperately in the clutch. Suddenly, it's now like a 9-car battle for the podium here today, and Jaime Dalmasas and Adnan Grosdanic are going to fight for the win, and Adnan looks for the move on the inside. No, Jaime Dalmasas still has him scouted, and there'll be another place to go and get it done. Linz will take a 5-second penalty at the end, but for the moment, Nicholas Goebbels got the clearance he wants. Kendall in fifth. Here comes Xavier Kane looking for a move, but Grosdanic's now heading to the Hugenholz. He's now going to start thinking about, can he get the runs necessary with the slipstream? He's been sitting and waiting, and they've been looking at the fuel numbers, thinking, how tight are we on our margins as we go up the hill then through Slopemaker, turn 6, Sheevlack of turn 7, 0.2 of a second between Dalmasas and Grosdanic as David Turon falls outside of the top 10. Who thought that was going to happen here today? Now here comes Masters Corner with the anti-cut curve that stares at you on the inside. Masters Corner, always a place for a look. A half thought then from the likes of Adnan Grosdanic, but he's going to probably be trying to eye up a move at the end. Kendall now has caught the back of Goebbels, and so too has Henry Mackenzie Friedman, and moves on for the podium as Kendall tries to dive down Ade Cobra. But as they head now to the next section, this is one of the great places to get it done. Look at the trading on top. Adnan again has a little think of making a move. Can he force the mistake? Heavy over the curb goes Jaime Dalmasas, and off it all, bang! In the back, that's Henry Mackenzie Friedman, who goes the wrong way and finds himself with a massive amount of dramas late as they fought for the podium. But now it's about drive, heading through the final corner, and Adnan Grosdanic has simply had nothing, and he just waits for this run. It's gonna be a drag race, closing down to a car length, closing down to a half, closing down, but the line's too close. Jaime Dalmasas takes it at Zandvoort for the podium. It looks like Nicholas Goebbels is going to be the one who staves off everybody else as Ade Cobra runs out of fuel heading to the line. Oh my goodness, what a nail biter.
And Michael Chase just up the line as well, ran out of fuel. He loses positions, and where does Ade Cobra finish? It's 8th. Turon is going to finish 11th, and that's a confirmed 11th because Fischer is not taking his black flag. He'll take the time penalty. He's going to push Turon over the line. Giuseppe Milo will get that, but there is some other moments to go through. There's a couple incidents that's going to be happening, but it's going to be 35 seconds added to Fischer's time. That's going to take him almost 20th. And Tarragretta, some of the last cars to make some moves out there. Not a lot he can do on Luino. This has not been the race for Adrian that he wanted. Try to salvage something, but it's not going to be the top 20 that he wanted.
No, but late though, Michael Tarragretta might want to try and take a place away, and Luino will realise, yeah, this is a tough day, but you've not really lost too much in terms of points in the AM category. When you look around at Valdemar Marcher, he's only 2 places in front. Fonda Mühlerbrook is only 1 place in front. Yes, Jake Ratcliffe had a great day. He's 6 ahead of you, but you know, you may have finished over 45 seconds behind, but if it's only 6 places, I wouldn't call that end of the day.
No, it's not an end of the day, and it's still a good result. Remember, you're going to think Luino was actually down 3 places for the day. Tanner Greta up 7. Ulrich is going to be finishing. It wasn't the best of finish of him today. Hard charges today. Charles Wolf and Krippendorf up 11th overall as we're watching Ulrich, the last man to come across the line. And I do like that old school style of a seating position for the sim racers.
Let's get a look at your unofficial classified results with penalties still to be applied after the end of the race. And it is Jaume Dalmases who makes up for the penalty that he had 1 week ago and gets the job done in 50 minutes and 46 seconds. He wins by just 0.07 of a second. It's a nice gap over Adnan Grozdanic there, with Nicholas Goebel rounding out the final spot on the podium in a dramatic twist at the end, which sees Matt Kendall and Xavier Kane 4th and 5th, with Adrian Borowski 6th and Michael Chase in 7th, running out of fuel. More dramatically than that, Ade Koba 8th only for that, then dramatically dropping the final few places, with Justin Hodge and Ollie Bailey rounding out your top 10.
Well, we talk about dramatic. We got to talk about David Taron, who finishes 11th. Giuseppe Milo will officially be 12th after that penalty for Fischer, with Nuno Ferreira up into 13th. 12 places, we said, for Krippendorf to 14th, and Jake Radcliffe will be 15th with the amateur win there. Charles Wolf up 12 to 16th for Lars Fischer will take that penalty to 17th. Philip Scriffiano, will be 18th. Henry Friedman will take 19th with Valdemar Marcher running out the top 20.
It's worth noting that was a case of taking a toe on the last lap there for Henry Mackenzie Friedman. A real shame. He was fighting for a podium and he doesn't nearly get a top 20. Vincent van der Meulenbroek will be then at 21st, with Adrian Luño in 22nd. Michael Tanner-Greta and Per Sandberg will be 23rd and 24th, with Lars Ulrich, your last finisher on the lead lap, running double zeros. Dennis Lins would be a lap down, along with Thiago Corilandia, as Elijah White and Braden Hope would also find out how difficult this race would be, needing their fast repairs. And then you hit the retirees and co. Jorge Diaz, Henry Mantle then will be over the page in 31st. A dramatic end to the race for Eugenio Pulici, and then Victor Bernas unable to get back out there and racing with the issues that he had in the early stages of running. But a day of drama, to say the very least. Craig King has caught up with Adnan Grozdanic.
Yeah, Grozdanic, I have to say, did you have the fuel, and were you surprised to see so many cars at the end there run out of fuel? Because that surprised everybody here in the booth.
It surprised me as well, because I didn't see that people were running out of fuel. I just heard it or read it in my Twitch chat, and now you confirmed it. So, wow. I'm happy I made it to the end. I did had to save fuel. Unfortunately, I underfueled accidentally. That was not on purpose.
Yeah, let's talk about this whole situation, because it was pack racing. And then everyone was thinking, well, you're going to go with a buddy. You're going to go with multiple people. Everyone starts pitting on their own. Was there anybody working together out there, or were you just all second guessing each other? Because that looks like it could have been a lot closer had people been working together.
To be honest, I believe I can confirm there was more working together between opponents compared to round 1 at Oran Park. So yeah, definitely people worked together, but yeah, pace is different. Someone had to save more fuel, someone didn't. Like, obviously, I led the first, I don't know how many laps, and I can feel my tires were getting super hot. I felt the understeer, and also I could not save fuel, right? So I did a mistake that was not on purpose. Jaume overtook, and then you could literally see how much less of grip he had compared to me when he was leading. So yeah, I could save a little bit of fuel there.
I can confirm it with 8 laps led for you, 16 for Dalmases as well. But it was a very interesting race, because you said he was struggling. It looked like you had chances, decided to go with the bump drafting. Was that because of the fuel, or was it just because you didn't have the pace? Because we saw your face at the end. You were oh so close, and it really wasn't a nice finish for you.
I mean, no, it was a nice finish for me. So congratulations to Jaume for P1 and congratulations to Niklas for P3. It's good to see Niklas here in the season. I'm happy with P2. I mean, obviously it was very close. It was a photo finish. So I said to the chat, like, guys, I'm going to give you a show. I'm going to give you a photo bomb. However, yeah, like the second last turn, I always felt like I was a bit quicker than Jaume. So I always got a better run. And that was my strategy, to go for the last lap in the second last corner. However, where it mattered, he delivered, and I was 0.3 seconds behind him, and that was just not enough.
Just not enough there. But before we let you go, next week, I cannot really pronounce this very well, but I always like to try it. It's Rudskogen. Your thoughts, because it's a very popular track for the Mazda drivers. So your thoughts on what we're going to see next week?
I'm really excited for Rudskogen because I know many people don't like the track, but I do like it. It's a track that is I'm good on this track, so I'm really looking forward to battle there. I'm looking forward for the pace, and yeah, gonna try to get the pole over there as well.
Aradan, congratulations on the P2. I'm getting a lot of laughs at the in the box here for butchering that name, and Jake's going to slap me over the head. But thank you once again for coming. Congratulations on the P2, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you, Craig. Have a good one.
Thank you very much, Jake. I know you're going to be slapping me over the wrist for that. Well, not the face, but I think you've got a Nicholas Goebel though in a surprising P3.
Well, I do, Nicholas. I think the key to that race was all about fuel saving. Your two teammates couldn't manage it. You look around, you see Ade Koba can't manage it, and suddenly everyone's on top of you with a lap to go.
Yeah. You would figure some of us experienced MX5 drivers would be able to do a pit stop correctly, but apparently there's a bit of knowledge yet to gain. Yeah, I don't know. I think we all, like I was in a voice chat with my 5-star teammates, and we all had the issue that we tried to be a free rider on someone else's fuel calculator, but no one had a fuel calculator, so we just winged it, and apparently not a lot of us were able to finish. So yeah, I found myself after the pit stop basically in the middle of nowhere. Car behind was quite far back, car in front was quite far in front. I tried to calculate with the remaining time and the average lap time just to see if I would make it to the end, and I thought, okay, this will be tight. So I had to manage it throughout my second half of the stint. Yeah, tried not to give the guys behind too much of a good feeling to catch me early, to not give them too much hope, and then in the end I had to save quite severely. I was lucky that Ade ran out of fuel just before me, so I could use him as a bit of a buffer from the guys behind who had enough fuel. So they were fighting, going side by side, and I was sputtering over the finish line. So yeah, I'm not even sure how I got on the podium.
Well, it is your first start of the season, but you battled a lot of these drivers before. It is the very top run as they go through. In terms of now how you're looking to build on that experience heading to Rudskogen, is that going to be a case of you now heading to a track which a lot of drivers know, a lot of elevation change, a circuit that I think suits a certain style of driver rather than others? Do you feel like this is a chance to build now for your season, looking to try and go now and say, yeah, you've got one race under the belt, now let's go and take it by the horns?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say the sprint format, which is going to be there for the next round at Rudskogen, should be better for me. I think, yeah, a lot of people have raced this quite a lot in the rookie MX5 series. Probably will be very close again. I think qualifying today was also very close, so it's very competitive. I'd still have to have a good day to get another good result, but I think the format itself, yeah, should be more suitable to my style of racing. Let's put it that way.
Well, we'll wish you the best of luck in 7 days' time. Nicholas Goebel then picking up the final spot on the podium here today on what was a very big day's worth of racing. And of course, in 7 days' time, there is more to come, Craig, as we head to the Rudskogen Motor Centre for what is the third round of the championship. It is a Herman Tilke designed circuit in the middle of Norway, and it does look like a baby Shanghai.
Yeah, I've never thought of it like that, but it is, and it's got a very dangerous turn 1, which we will probably be talking about non-stop. But the elevation changes are going to be very interesting for the card. The middle sector is one of my favorites in modern-day tracks on the iRacing service. It produces great racing for the MX5 Rookie Series on iRacing, so no doubt for 2 races next week, it's going to produce some fantastic driving from the MX5 United guys.
Yep, and you can only catch it with us here on the Global Sim Racing channel as part of a Genesis Extreme production. By the way, if you ever find yourself at the Rudskogen Motor Centre, if you've got a spare 5,000 krona, you can drive a Porsche around there. I think it's absolutely brilliant of an idea from them. But you can catch that as well as some of the other races that will be coming along with you here with us on the Global Sim Racing channel. This weekend, you will have the likes of Skip Barber on Thursday, not Sunday, Thursday. That will be coming to you from Watkins Glen, as you will have the likes of Phillip Island hosting Grand Prix Legends. IMSA Vintage will be jumping over to the Spiderweb at Barber, and then the Classic Lotus Grand Prix Legends will be looking around at Jerez as the next battle then on your Sunday. So keep that in mind as you get yourself set for your weekend coming up with us on the Global Sim Racing channel. But it's all about storybooks and who can start writing the chapters that they want. Consistency is king, but have you put enough in your fuel tank to garner yourself the points? It is a rare mistake from many talented drivers out there who should know better than to run out of fuel, but there's one man on top here today looking to close down that gap, and it's Jaume Dal Masses, the man of the masses, gets his win, and now we'll look to head to Rudskogen as one looking to take the championship away from Adnan Grozdanic.
This is iRacing.